Welcome to the video lecture series on principles of compiler design. In today's video lecture, we'll be learning about the role of lexical analyzer. So, lexical analyzer is actually considered the first part or first phase of the compiler. So, we will be discussing about the lexical analyzer in an elaborate fashion and what's its functionalities in building a compiler. Now, to start up with the lexical analyzer, so lexical analyzer is also called as a scanner. The other name for lexical analyzer is called as a scanner. So the primary purpose of lexical analyzer is it converts a high-level program into a sequence of tokens. So tokens is nothing but meaningful entities. For instance, if you have a number, we have to say that number is called as a constant. And if we have an identifier, we can say that identifier is called as a variable or identifier is called as a function call. All these are called as tokens. Any form of any form of entities or any form of representation in a programming language should have a meaning for the respective component. Then that is called as a token. And these tokens are actually formed with a set of rules called as regular expressions. So we cannot form a token as it is because a token has a certain pattern. The token has to be adhering to the pattern, and that pattern is actually comes from a regular expression. So regular expression are rules to form a token. Now this diagram is actually depicting the role of lexical analyzer. A lexical analyzer is actually connected with the syntax analyzer, and all these are actually together have reference to a symbol table. Now, what is the role of this lexical analyzer? In general, the source code or source program will be given to as an input to lexical analyzer. Now, what happens is this lexical analyzer converts the source program into a collection of tokens. Now, the collection of tokens will not be given to syntax analyzer as it is. So, whenever a request is made by the syntax analyzer, then the corresponding one token will be given to the syntax analyzer. So, for one request, one token will be transferred to syntax analyzer. So, we can see the graphical representation here. Request is given to lexical analyzer, and then eventually one token will be given to syntax analyzer. So this actually is done in a repeated form, and syntax analyzer actually communicates with the rest of the phases of the compiler. Now, what is the functions of lexical analyzer? Now, it actually reads the input characters from the source program, then divide the source program into valid tokens, and this process is called as tokenization. Now, whenever we have any blank spaces or white spaces, any unwanted spaces will be removed by lexical analyzer. And to improve the readability of the program, we will be using comments. So, comments is actually represents what a program code is going to do. And this comments will be removed because this is not going to be executed by the compiler. Now, that is removing this comments is part of lexical analyzer, role of lexical analyzer. Now, it actually it used to identify the tokens in the symbol table. Whenever we have a variable, that variable will be entered inside the symbol table along with type and it's with the location, all these things. And lexical analyzer is also responsible for generating lexical errors. For example, when we are misspelling a token, then that is obviously called as a lexical error. Now, and if you are not able to generate a valid token using a pattern or using a regular expression, then obviously that is called as a lexical error. So a character sequence which is not possible to scan a valid token is called as a lexical error here. Now, there are various types of lexical errors. When you make a spelling mistake, then that is called as a lexical error. Then if we actually exceed the length of the identifier, generally if you have up to 32 characters, then that is called as a valid identifier. If you are having more than 32 characters, then obviously some of the languages will not permit such kind of a lengthy identifier. So that kind of error is called as lexical error. When we actually exceed the length of an identifier, it is called as a lexical error. Now, if you have any appearance of illegal character, say for example, except underscore, none of the special characters permitted inside an identifier. If you have a semicolon, or if you have a full stop, or if you have arithmetic symbol inside a identifier, then that is definitely an invalid character. So such kind of errors are called as lexical errors. Such kind of identifiers is not permitted. Now, in this case, you can see an example here, variable underscore name, say here to age. Okay, so you cannot proceed with a number for an identifier. So to age is actually proceeding with a number, so it is actually called as an error here. So now the next is called as tokens, lexemes, patterns, and attributes. So what is meant by tokens? So tokens is actually a sequence of characters that can be treated as a single unit in the grammar of a programming language. For example, in this case, identifiers, constants, keywords, operators, special symbol, all these are called as tokens here. So I have given a symbolic graphical depiction of what is meant by a token. Now you can see that a scanner is actually trying to scan an integer. Now int is called as a keyword. Now when we move to a blank space, so blank space should be removed in a lexical analyzer. So blank space is actually ignored here. Now when we move on the right, you can see that A is actually called as an identifier. Now when we move on the right, you can see equal to is called as an operator. And when we still move on the right, you can see 10 is called as a constant here. And when we move on the right, you can see semicolon is called as a special operator. So these are called as tokens. Now all these are called as tokens here. Now what is meant by lexeme? So lexeme is called as a sequence of characters in a source program that is matched by a pattern to form a token. For instance, see here, everything is called as integer, a equal to 10 semicolon. All these are called as tokens, but these are actually supplied as a values for tokens here. So the values which is actually supplied for a tokens is called as lexemes. All these are called as lexemes. Now, what is meant by a pattern? So, rule associated to form a token is called as a pattern. For example, when you form an identifier, normally identifier proceeds with a letter followed by a letter or a digit any number of times. Now, we have to define what is meant by a letter. Any alphabetic character, either it is capital A to Z or small a to Z, everything is called as a letter. And digits, actually, normally we have from a collection of 0 to 9. All these are called as digits. Now, what is meant by an attribute? The additional information about a token is called as an attribute. For instance, A equal to B plus 5 is a statement, is an arithmetic statement. Now, see here, when we see this identifier A, it is called as first identifier. Now, we try to make a pointer to a symbol table. Definitely, this A has to be entered inside a symbol table since it is an identifier or a variable. So, now the additional information which is given to an identifier or a token is called as attribute here. So that's about role of lexical analyzer. Thanks for watching a video. Have a good day.